Sound check 1 2. Sound check 1 2. Ready to go. Ready to go. Sound check 1 2. Sound check 1 2. Guan Yu Zhou, pole position. Second place, Kush Mayani. Sound check 1 2. Sound check 1 2.
Yeah, yeah, and yes, it's me. And no, it's not cricket. But it's the same energy. It's not between the runs, but the laps. It's not between two teams, but many to come. It's not just between the players, but also their machines. Sweat, not in the jerseys, but in their gears. It's about the race this time. Show up to cheer for Amchi Mumbai.
Mumbai Falcons at the Asian F3 Championship UAE.
Good morning and welcome to the United Arab Emirates for round one, race two of the Formula 3 Asian Championship for 2021. We are running just a few moments behind time, so we will try and catch up with a few drivers as quickly as possible. Yes, my name is Ian Sylvester and delighted to be joined by the Vice Champion of Asia, the Blancpain GT Series and open wheeler racer Aditya Patel. Aditya, good morning. Welcome once again to Dubai. Yesterday was a cracking start to the season. Race two, a mixed upside down grid. This will be even better.
Good morning, Ian. I'm really looking forward to this race. The starting grid for this race is actually based on the fastest lap of each driver for race one, which means it's actually going to be really interesting. There's a varied tire strategy down on the grid. But, you know, I'm really looking forward to see what the drivers have to say, because a lot of them had some interesting thoughts on how they're going to go about this race with regard to their strategy. So let's see what they have to say.
Guan Yu Zhou will start on pole position. He started on pole position for race one. There is the Chinese driver, and he drove away to win by 7 seconds yesterday. Kush Maini, there is the driver from Bangalore in India for the Mumbai Falcons out of grid two. Had an incident on the opening lap, pitted for new tyres and a front wing damage, circulated, finished way down the field, but set the second quickest time, and therefore starts on the outside of the front row of the grid. It is a beautiful morning here in Dubai. The top temperature later this afternoon of around about 28 degrees. 23 cars on the circuit. This world-class field for the first major open-wheel race in the Northern Hemisphere for 2021. There is the grid about to be cleared in a few moments. We will try and catch up with a few drivers down on the grid when we can get our camera down there. Apologies for the delay. We are running a few moments behind time, but you will be able to catch us live for race two and race three this afternoon. Let's go down to the grid and try and catch a word with some of the drivers.
Thanks, Ian. We're down here on the grid, ready for a very exciting second race. As Aditya pointed out, the fastest laps from race one set the grid for this race. So it is a little bit interesting compared to yesterday. A lot of drivers in different positions. Let's catch a quick word with our race one winner and our race two pole sitter. Guan Yu Zhou, good to see you back here again. So far, preparations going well, I guess, for this second race.
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday was a pretty good race. And yeah, obviously, I think today everybody is going to improve their speed in the race. And I'm just focused on myself, really get a clean getaway. And I think the race should be good afterwards.
Now, the air temperature today is a little hotter than it was for qualifying yesterday. Has that changed anything in terms of the preparation for the car?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, little few degrees could change the balance for the race, especially in the long runs. And yeah, I think today the race will be rising up the temperature as well, so it could make some rear deck maybe, and we will see. And yeah, all good.
Sounds good to me. Good luck. Could be very interesting. Can he make it 2 out of 2? That's going to be the interesting factor. Now, yesterday, Kush Maini had a terrible bad luck in terms of the start of the race. Ended up in the pit lane having to make repairs to the car. But he drove with the red mist and got the second fastest lap of the race. So now he's here on the front row of the starting grid. Kush, great to see you here. Second position. How quickly can you get to that first corner? Will you beat Guan Yu Zhou to the first third?
I think we all need to wait and see, but hopefully.
Now, we know that the car is fast. It was very strong yesterday. How do we think it's going to go today?
Hopefully similar. I think we had a good balance yesterday throughout the race, so hopefully we can put some pressure on him.
Well, good luck with it. Hopefully it's a cracking race. The Mumbai Falcons taking great pains to make sure this is their kind of motor race. Now, we've got in third position one of the other Prema drivers having a great weekend so far. Dino Beganovic, the Super Swede, really putting on a great show thus far in this Asian F3 opening weekend. Dino, good to see you. Third position on the grid. It's looking pretty sweet from where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good start position, and I'm very looking forward for the race. I'm going to give it all and give it a shot.
Now, you know the circuit now, having learnt it over the course of the weekend. That guy up in front is catchable. What are you going to do to get him? Is it going to be all guns blazing at the start or a little earlier on into the race?
Just to get a decent start. It's very difficult to overtake with these cars, but I'm going to do everything I can.
Fair enough. Good luck, Dino. It's going to be a very tough race. There are all sorts of drivers in various different positions over the course of the circuit as well. Watch out for Ayuma Iwase, the Japanese driver for Red Bull. He should be very strong from that third row of the grid. And the Frenchman, Isaac Ajar, is going to be one to watch as well. There's a lot of top talent towards the front. And as we mentioned, qualifying yesterday was cooler than the temperatures today. So Aditya, Ian, the buzzword this morning is tyre temperature.
The grid is set for race 2 here this morning. Aditya, this will be a cracking race, quite simply because we've got effectively, in some respects, a reverse grid race. You picked yesterday Roy Nissany to start from the second row of the grid and make a great start. He did just that, came home in second place. He starts further back on the fourth row of the grid as they work on Kush Mainy's car. Not quite sure what they were doing there. Car 28. Nevertheless, the Indian driver does start on the outside of the front row of the grid. Guan Yu Zhou, the pole sitter on grid 1. Kush in grid 2. I do suspect this is a gearbox issue. This looks as though he has got an issue with the gearbox. They're trying to... This is not the first time one of these cars this week has had an issue with the gearbox. The Evans race team also had a similar problem with the gearbox. And you can see they're working further back on... Looks like Chembolik Bashi's car as well. Kush Maini, I can almost promise you that that is a gearbox issue for the driver from Bangalore in India.
Yeah, he seems to be stuck in gear right now. They're trying to move the car back and forth, trying to get the car in neutral, but it seems to be engaged in gear. Let's hope they can get his car up and running in time. But we see people working on some cars up and down the grid. Hopefully nothing too serious for everybody, and we should be underway soon. But going back to the grid order for today, it's going to be interesting because it's based on each driver's fastest lap from yesterday in the race. And what makes that interesting is this puts, say, for example, someone like Kush Maini up into second place, which gives him, at the moment, his best chance for the 3 races this weekend. So he's obviously going to choose the set of tires which he thinks would be the best, and sacrifice the next race using a used set of tires. Whereas there are drivers down the grid who are using their tires from race 1 because they aren't really finding themselves in a good position for race 2, but they would find themselves in a proper position then to fight for race 3, which means they would use the new tires for race 3. So there's a varied set of tires up and down the grid today for race 2. And that's going to make it very interesting to watch, because unlike race 1, where everybody was on tires that had the same amount of mileage, we've got drivers up and down the grid who've got tires with different mileage on them, and that's where race strategy comes handy for all of them. We did see that tire wear isn't too much of an issue, though.
Track position certainly isn't Kush Maini for the moment. It looks as though he will try to start from the outside of the front row of the grid. As the smoke comes in from... That's not from the track. That's from just outside the circuit. A slight delay here this morning for the start of race 2. This is the 2021 Formula 3 Championship of Asia. Guan Yu Zhou to the right of your screen. Kush Maini, let's hope he can get away. He does. Wow, sighs of relief in the subcontinent, but he doesn't go too far. Kush Maini. Now he comes to a stop. Outside front row start. Let's take a look at the grid. It doesn't look like that will happen for Kush. Guan Yu Zhou on P1, pole position for the race 1 winner. Kush, grid 2. It looks as though that will not happen. Dynamite, Dino and PLC in car 3 on the second row of the grid. We go back to the third row. 2 of the youngest drivers in the field. The Parisian Isaac Haja, P5, and Ayumu Iwasa from Osaka in Japan. For Team High Tech, the Japanese driver out of grid 6. Row 7, Jahan Daruvala and Roy Nissany, who came home in second place yesterday for Team High Tech. Red Bull Junior is alongside him. The fifth row of the grid, Alessio De Leda, who will be racing in the FIA Formula 2 Championship in 2021, alongside Patrick Pasma. 4 victories in the Formula Regional European Championship in 2020 for KIC Motorsport on the outside of the fifth row of the grid. The Czech Roman Stanek Chembolik Bashi on the 6th row. Lorenzo Flutzaris Ushujima, the American-born Japanese driver, as you look at Kush parked on the start-finish straight. It looks as though his race is over before the start. We'll go through the remainder of the grid for you. Roberto Faria, Nicola Marinangeli, Casper Stevenson starts alongside Amna Alkabasi. She had a great run yesterday. Amna to come storming through as Kush steps out of the car. What a disaster for 50% of the Mumbai Falcons team. Amna, she will start alongside Casper, Alexandre Badignon and Matthias Luton. Then we have Irina Sidorkova, Rafa Villagomez from Mexico, and Zdenek Chovanec. Final position on the grid. So Guan Yuzhou to start from pole position with nobody alongside. Kush Maini's car is still parked on the start-finish straight. Aditya, I doubt we will get a start this time around because car 28 is still on the racetrack.
Yeah, it seems like they're not going to start the race. There's definitely going to be a start delay. It looks to me like Kush's car is stuck in gear. He's just not able to engage his clutch, and they weren't able to roll it out of the way. That's extremely unfortunate because everything looked good till he got to the grid, and then he seemed to have encountered some problems there. Put in so much effort, Kush, yesterday to get his car up there on the first row, and well, I guess that's motorsport.
Heartbreaking for Kush Maini from the British Formula 3 Championship in 2020. Actually had an incident on the opening lap of the race yesterday with Rafa Villagomez. They both had to pit. Rafa retired and will start way back on grid 22. Kush pitted. He had clear air and set fastest lap after fastest lap. He was looking to start on pole position. Ultimately, Guan Yuzhou, with his second last lap of the race, went quickest. That secured the Chinese driver pole position. And Kush Maini, as you can see, the start has been delayed. Kush is down in pit lane.
Kush, the worst possible way to start a motor race like this. Just tell us a little bit what was going on in the car.
Yeah, I think I noticed the brake pedal got really hard. And then I told the mechanic to try and push the car forward, and it was stuck. So maybe we thought that if we got off the line, it would sort itself out. But yeah, the brakes are completely jammed. So yeah, it's what it is. What can you do now?
Any chance you might be able to start from the pit lane?
I doubt it, and probably want to save tires anyways.
Okay, hard luck. See you in race 3.
Thank you.
Heartbreak for Kush Maini, who will not start race 2. He had, well, a disaster yesterday. So his championship is not off to a good start. His teammate for the Mumbai Falcons, Jahan Daruvala, finished on the podium yesterday. And there is the sad sight of car 28 coming back to the pits on the back of the recovery vehicle. So let's recap what did happen yesterday. Guan Yuzhou started from pole position and ran away with the race. He was attacked early on, but he had too much experience, too much speed, and won the race by 7 seconds. Roy Nissani, Jahan Daruvala finishing on the podium as well. Kush Maini coming together with Rafa Villagomez, I should say, and was to have started on grid 2. That will not happen. The start has officially now been delayed. We are waiting for word from race control as to when we will get underway, but Guan Yuzhou will have the front row to himself here this morning. Beganovic out of 3. Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who will start on pole position for race 3 later this afternoon, courtesy of setting the fastest time in qualifying 2 yesterday. So a mixed grid becomes even more so because Kush Maini from the outside of the front row of the grid, beautifully presented car, but unfortunately he's going nowhere here this morning. It doesn't matter how good it looks, it's stationary.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, if you're a team, if you're a driver, you want to be out there on the track fighting for the win. But what this does for Pierre-Louis Chauvet is it gives him a clear run to turn 1. So he doesn't have anybody in front of him. He's going to try his best to make full use of that opportunity. But this also means that he doesn't have that all-important slipstream going towards turn 1. We saw Roy Nissani make use of that yesterday, starting from 3rd place and jumping Pierre-Louis Chauvet on the start. So it's going to make for an interesting start. Of course, Zhu has the front row all to himself. I'm sure he's quite happy about that. But it's anybody's game now, you know. We've got one driver on the front row out of the race, but we've got, 22 other drivers who want to win the race? But you never know what's going to happen.
As the 5-minute board goes up, there is Pierre-Louis Chauvet, the Travel Planet Pinnacle Racing entry, finished 5th in the Formula Regional European Championship in 2020, including that stunning victory at Barcelona in Spain just 3 months ago, first weekend of November. Indeed it was. Guan Yuzhou, Formula 2 race winner. He was just a class act yesterday. Will have the front row all to himself, but will need to get a good start. He's got the experience. Beganovic on debut in Formula 3 from the north of Sweden, from Linköping. What can he do? He was a professional kart racing driver for the Ward Racing team in a Vortex-powered Tony kart not 6 months ago. He's got a Formula One test driver just in front of him. He's driving for the Prema Power team by Abu Dhabi Racing. If he can get an absolute rocket start from the second row of the grid, what a story that would be down into turn one. But he's got 20-odd cars, as you pointed out correctly, Aditya, right behind him. This is a classy field, the biggest field ever in the Asian Championship Formula 3 Series.
It is indeed. And like we said yesterday, you know, the field has grown massively. It's attracted a lot of drivers from championships like Formula 2, Formula 4, and like Euro Formula Open, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who drove there last year. A lot of drivers who've been karting not so long ago, so it's a great grid. And yesterday gave us some good racing, good clean racing, but we didn't see so much overtaking yesterday. We're expecting to see more overtaking today because there's a variation in the tire strategy, and that's going to make things a little bit interesting and mix things up a bit.
50% of the Mumbai Falcons team. This is Jahan Daruvala. His teammate has retired. What a beautifully presented car this is. Mumbai Falcons racing team, Jahan Daruvala, Formula 2 race winner, starts back on grid 7, was on the podium yesterday. A world-class field, as we mentioned, 23 drivers, 18 nations for the Formula 3 Asian Championship. Incidentally, the reigning champions, Black Arts Racing, with the Dutch driver Joey Alders last season when we switched to a summer season. And it certainly has paid dividends because let's remember there's 18 super license points up for grabs for this championship. An intense month of racing. 5 rounds from here. We go to the Yas Marina Abu Dhabi circuit in just a few days' time, just up the road, and another COVID test later for a double header week next week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and of course the 2 races here today making up the 3 rounds of the first round of this series. 15 races in total.
Absolutely. Speaking about super license points, we've seen how important it is for these drivers to rack up as many super license points as they can. If you remember in the Formula 2 Championship earlier or late last year, Yuki Tsunoda went into the last weekend with probably not enough super license points to make it into Formula 1, and he just about managed to pull it off, and now he's driving for AlphaTauri. So it is really important. These drivers know how important it is to get as many super license points as they can if they want to be in that Formula 1 seat in the near future.
Also, Pietro Fittipaldi and Nikita Mazepin, both driving for Haas Formula 1. They were in this series not 12 months ago.
Exactly. The series has seen some great drivers. Jack Doohan, if I'm not mistaken.
Second in the series 2 years ago was our boy Jumping Jack.
Your boy Jumping Jack. So there have been some great drivers who come out of this series, and it's obviously invited the attention of a lot of young, promising drivers. Hopefully today is going to give us a great race because the cars are so capable. There's definitely, you know, a lot in these drivers. They've got the experience from different formulas to actually give us a cracker of a race, and I'm really looking forward to something like that today, especially with this varied strategy. You know, it's something that I don't know how it's going to turn out, especially because of the way people run different tires in this particular race. We saw yesterday's race, it was quite predictable, but today's race is definitely going to be interesting.
We have had word from race control that the race has been reduced by 3 minutes, so it will be a 27-minute race. As we set off on another formation lap, 10:46 local time here in the United Arab Emirates. We welcome you to the Dubai Autodrome for race 2, round 1, the 2021 Formula 3 Asian Championship. If you're just joining us now, Kushmaini will not take the start. A gearbox issue on the grid. He travelled all of about 10 metres. He's already back in the garage and he's out of the race. As you look at the pole sitter, the race 1 victor, Guan Yuzhou from Shanghai for the Prema Power team, Abu Dhabi Racing Car 33. Kush is not on grid 2. That leaves a clear run for Bogdanovic and Pierre-Louis Chauvet on the second row of the grid. Guan Yu Zhou, Alpine Formula One test driver, car 33 in the Asian F3 series. These cars are notoriously difficult to pass. If we are brutally honest, they are underpowered somewhat. 675 kilos with the driver minimum weight and just on 270 horsepower. There is discussion amongst the FIA that there will be a power increase to in excess of 300 horsepower. That will help overtaking, but let's hope. The mixed grid, based on the fastest lap times in race 1 yesterday, gives us a cracker of a race this morning. So Guan Yu Zhou on pole position. The second row is Dino and PLC. Isaac Hadjar from Paris in France, and Ayumu Iwasa, reigning French Formula 4 champion. Both Isaac and Ayumu out of the French F4 series in 2020. Jahan Daruvala, Roy Nissany, both on the podium yesterday. Alessio Deleda lining up in the FIA Formula 2 Championship. Incidentally, Roy Nissany, just an hour before race 1 yesterday, announced as the second driver for the Dance Grand Prix team, alongside the Kiwi Marcus Armstrong in the FIA Formula 2 Championship. Stand by, race 2 here in Dubai. The Formula 3 Asian Championship for 2021 here at the Dubai Autodrome. The final cars making their way onto the track, onto the start-finish straight, I should say, as we form up for what is now a 27-minute race. The Asian F3 series to the right of your screen, Guan Yu Zhou on pole position. Welcome to the Emirates for the F3 series of Asia. Race 2 here this morning. The green flag flies at the back of the grid. Zhou to the right of your screen. For the second time this weekend, we race. Pierre-Louis Chauvet tries to go with Dino Bogdanovic, who's in second place and already being hounded by the rest of the field. Guan Yu Zhou goes to his right down into turn 1. Super start by one of the Evans Grand Prix cars. It looks to be Isaac Hadjar up into third place. Guan Yu Zhou leads the way here this morning. Dino Bogdanovic in second in car 16. It is a Prema Power Team Abu Dhabi Racing 1-2 at the moment as they go down the back straight for the first time. A nice clean start here this morning in Dubai. Guan Yu Zhou leads the way. A disastrous start for Pierre-Louis Chauvet. He has gone backwards. Isaac Hadjar for Evans Grand Prix into third place. Great start by Alessio Deleda, who's already on the charge here this morning. And Rafa Villagomez further back in the pack, already fighting his way up through the field from the 11th row of the grid. Guan Yu Zhou leads the way here this morning. Dino Bogdanovic, his teammate, his much younger, much less experienced teammate, in second place. Guan Yu Zhou, it already looks ominous here on the opening lap of this 27-minute race.
It was a nice clean start down the field. We didn't see any contact this time today. I think yesterday we had a little bit of contact. Everything seemed pretty clean today, but Isaac Hadjar, what a start. I was hoping you were going to ask me who my money was on for the start, because I was going to say Isaac Hadjar. He is hounding Dino from behind, but it's the two Prema powered cars by Abu Dhabi Racing in front, followed by the Evans GP car of Isaac Hadjar. Once again, as the cars come down the straight, you can see here there's not so much slipstream, there's not so much overtaking going on. Just as I say that, I think that's Ayumu Iwasa trying to give Roy Nissany a little bit of a challenge going into turn 1. Let's see if he made that stick.
Guan Yu Zhou with the race lead. Nice try by Ayumu Iwasa from Japan, trying to make the move on Roy Nissany as Guan Yu Zhou goes through. So the order as they come across the line for the first time, it is Zhou from Bogdanovic, Hadjar, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, Alessio Deleda, fabulous start by the Italian. Roy Nissany has now been passed by Ayumu Iwasa. Fabulous move on the opening lap of the race. Down into turn 1, there is the Honda-backed Red Bull Junior up into position 6. Patrick Passman just behind Jahan Daruvala. As you look at Pierre-Louis Chauvet going through the Travel Planet Car 3 for PLC will be disappointed. Again, did not get off the line so well. Car 3 position for Alessio Deleda. What a start by his teammate. Pinnacle Motorsport P4 and 5, the Italian in 5th place. Guan Yu leads the way, puts in a purple sector. The gap already 1 second back to Beganovic. Hadja, there's Chauvet going through. Deleda, Iwasa, back to Roy Nissani into 6th place on the podium yesterday. The driver from Tel Aviv in the Holy Land of Israel. The high-tech team driver. Fighting with Iwasa, Pasma, Daruvala. Good start by Jem Bokolbashi. The world's fastest gamer now inside the top 10. Car 74 as you look at Rafa Villagomez. 2 races in a row and he's not made the best start. Rafa has stalled on the 2nd lap of the race.
This could possibly bring out the safety car. It looks like Rafa has stalled. It doesn't look like he's able to get the car going. He is trying to turn the steering wheel there. Not sure what happened, if it was contact with somebody else or if he spun on his own. But if he doesn't get going, we're going to see the safety car, and that's going to close things up again a little bit. This plays well in the hands of Ayumu Iwasa and also Dino, who was starting to lose Gyanyu again. Oh, there is some contact.
There's
guys.
the reason why. That looked to be Amna Alkabasi involved in that as well. We do indeed have the safety car out on the circuit. Rafa Villagomez actually made a good start, as did Amna. But both car 8 and 88 are parked, and we have the safety car out on the circuit. Guan Yu Zhou, he had a lead of well over a second just after a lap, but that now disintegrates. His teammate there is Amna Alkabasi, her first race back in almost a year. She missed the 2020 season for the reason, well, the world stopped spinning on its own axis for you know why, and that cost Amna the 2020 racing season. This is her first race in a year, and it's not a great start to her series in her home country. Of course, we go to her home circuit, the Yas Marina Formula One Grand Prix track, in just a few days' time for a double-header race. For the moment, Amna Alkabasi is out, involved in an incident with Rafa Villagomez from Leon in central Mexico. The Black Arts racing team driver is out. Let's check the order as they come across the line to start lap 4 behind the safety car. Guan Yu Zhou, Dino Beganovic. It is an Abu Dhabi Racing Premier Power Team 1-2. Isaac Hadjar, wow, so much support, we should say. So many of his fans watching live from not only in France, but also in the north of Africa, in Algeria. And also Pierre-Louis Chauvet, so much support for the young French driver. The French drivers, plural, in 3 and 4. Alessio Deleda, the Italian, that great start also for Pinnacle Motorsport P5. Ayumu Iwasa got the move, made on Roy Nissani. And the Red Bull car there, he is in position 6, car 12, ahead of Roy, who finished 2nd. Patrick, position 8, car 4, Jahan Daruvala. And the world's fastest gamer from Istanbul in Turkey, Cem Bokolbashi, rounds out the 10. As Amna has made it back into pit lane. But as you can see, the left rear is askew, and that is the end of her race. Rafa still parked out on the circuit. The safety car leads. Race 2, Amna is down in pit lane.
We saw yesterday that Rafa had an incident on the same corner with Kushmani. Would be interesting to see what happened with them today. But yeah, unfortunate for both drivers. It looks like Amna's not going anywhere right now. Going back to the order, Isaac Hadja, as I mentioned, super quick in practice, super quick in qualifying, and it seemed like, the first race he struggled a little bit. I don't think he expected to find himself in the top 3 at the moment right now, but he has, and that's great to watch. And the restart is playing well into his hands. He's definitely going to try and pounce on Dino as soon as the restart happens. But Guan Yu Zhou, he's got his work cut out. He's got his teammate right behind him. Not sure if he's worried about that or not, because Dino's young. Dino wants to win, and he's going to try everything he can to make a move on Guan Yu Zhou as soon as possible.
Amna Alkabasi has stepped out of the 88 car, the second generation racer. She has retired. I'll try and get a word with her in just a moment. The team are actually still working on the car. The left rear looked to have severe damage. Amna, of course, her youngest sister, Hamda Al Khabaisi, competing in the UAE Formula 4 Championship here this weekend. And her father, Khalid Al Khabaisi, finishing second in the Dubai 24-hour race here just 2 weeks ago. So the safety car leads Guan Yu Zhou, Dino Beganovic 1-2, Isaac Hadjar straight out of the French Formula 4 Championship. In fact, he is still wearing the race suit from that series last year. There is the damage to the suspension of Amna's car 88. Pierre-Louis Chauvet, position 4, Alessio Deleda in position 5. Still waiting for Rafa Villagomez's car to be removed off the circuit. Ayumu Iwasa, the reigning French Formula 4 champion. He actually beat Isaac Hadjar to that championship title in 2020. He's in 6th place. Roy Nissani, Patrick Pasma, Jehan Daruvala. Chen Bokelbashi, then we go to Reese Ushijima, car 13 for Team High Tech. His High Tech teammate, Roman Stanek, Nicola Marinangeli, Roberto Faria, Lorenzo Fluzza, Zdenek Chauvenac, Alexandre Badignon, Casper Stevenson, Irina Sidorkova, and Matthias Luton in 20th place at the moment.
Cem Balukbashi, he's got a lot of fans watching on YouTube at the moment. Actually, I think most of the fans from on YouTube are Cem Balukbashi fans. We also have a lot of Mumbai Indian fans tuning in right now. There seems to be a competition between the Mumbai Indians and Cem Balukbashi.
150,000 followers on Instagram does Cem have.
Yeah, it's Instagram versus the racetrack right now.
That's a huge number for the world's fastest game, and he is currently in 10th place for the reigning champions. Black Arts Racing still another lap at least behind the safety car off screen. Rafael Villagomez's car has been put on the back of the recovery vehicle. It will try to be removed as quickly as possible. 17 minutes remaining. We have ticked over just 9 minutes now. The race has been reduced in duration by 3 minutes, down to 27 minutes if you're just joining our coverage now. Kushmaini was to have started out of grid 2, had an issue on the grid, travelled all 10 metres, but then his car was pushed back to pit lane. He retired, and then Rafael Villagomez and Amna Al Khabaisi having a moment and has brought out the safety car. With Guan Yu Zhou still in the lead, there's Beganovic and Isaac Hadjar in third. There is the Dubai skyline in the background. It is the middle of winter here in Dubai, and we are heading to a top temperature of 28 degrees Celsius in winter. Aditya, that's just fantastic.
It's probably one of the nicest places to be in winter. Of course, if you were in Australia right now, it would be pretty hot, I would imagine.
Are you going to talk about the recent cricket test where India beat Australia? I thought we agreed not to speak of that.
We did agree not to speak of that. You brought it up. But
yeah, I shot myself in the foot there.
You did shoot yourself in the foot, but I think India kind of showed Australia how it's done there, didn't they?
A lot of people watching them live from the subcontinent. Great to have your company here in Dubai, of course. The weather is beautiful here in the United Arab Emirates, and the Emirates is open for business as the rest of the world looks for excuses to lock us down in our own homes once again. Well, Emirates have got 3/4 of their air fleet back in the skies and flying. The Emirates is open for business, and between the Dubai Autodrome and the Yas Marina Grand Prix circuit, we have a double host venue for the 2021 Asian Formula 3 Championship. Rafael Villagomez's car has been removed off the circuit. We expect this to be the final lap behind the safety car as they try and keep not so much temperature in the GT tyres. It's more about keeping the life in them. They are very temperamental.
Absolutely, because like I said before the race started, a lot of drivers are on different strategies right now. There's some drivers who did find themselves in a good position to run on better tyres for this race. I would imagine Guan Yu Zhou is on better tyres right now. He's on his newer tyres, and on the next race he's going to be running on tyres from race 1. Dino, on the other hand, it's going to be interesting for him. I'm not sure exactly what set of tyres he's running, because he started third in this race. He's starting third in the next race. But I know guys further down, probably Roy Nissani, Jehan Daruvala, they're probably running on the tyres that they ran the entire first race, which means they've saved a better set of tyres for race 3. And that varies things up. But now being behind the safety car, The tyres are getting a good rest. They're cooling down. There's not so much degradation. So this closes things up again. The drivers who started this race on used tyres probably have big smiles on their faces right now. And as soon as the safety car's in the pit, they're definitely going to try and make good use of the opportunity that's been handed to them by the safety car.
As soon as the safety car is in the pit, well, that's imminent because we have just been given word from race control that the safety car will come into pit lane this lap. So let's check the order. On your screen in position 1 is the pole sitter, yesterday's race winner. And by courtesy of that victory, he is, of course, the early series leader. Guan Yu Zhou, Dino Beganovic, Isaac Hadjar, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, Alessio Deleda, car 10 for the Italian. Pinnacle Motorsport in 4 and 5. The safety car in this lap. It is Abu Dhabi Racing by the Prema Power team, 1 and 2. Evans Grand Prix, the Malaysian-based Australian team with the French driver here in Dubai in 3rd place. There is Isaac Hadjar as they round 10-11 at the bottom of the Radisson Hotel onto the start-finish straight. Guan Yu Zhou leads them across the line as the green flag flies once again. Zhou, position 1. Beganovic, 2. As Isaac Hadjar tries to get fresh air, it is so difficult to pass in these Formula 3 regional cars. Isaac Hadjar on the charge here this morning. Dino Beganovic has already lost some time to his teammate. Guan Yu Zhou starting to pull away. Here comes Hadjar, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, Alessio Deleda in position 5 for the Italian as Dino runs off the circuit coming onto the back straight. That gives hope to Hadjar. Will he try and get the slipstream and just send it down into the hairpin at the far part of the circuit?
Ooh, I think that was a bit ambitious. I think he was just trying to show himself in Dino's mirrors there just to get Dino off, to catch Dino off guard a little bit. We did see Dino run wide, which meant he got a little bit of dust on his tires, but should have been fine. Watching Jehan Daruvala right now, I think Jehan really wants to make a few places up, but everybody's so close on this field. It's so hard to pass cars. And as I was saying yesterday, a DRS button, that would make things a whole lot more interesting. Or even a little bit more power.
Probably more, another 40 or 50 horsepower, which is possible for the Formula Regional Alpine Championship in 2021. Certainly Dino in 2nd place, though, he's rattled. As we see Ayumu Iwasa also trying to make his way up past Alessio Deleda. There's the Italian. Jahan Daruvala going through. Roy Nissani. Chembokol Bashi, he's got a superbly presented car in the top 10. As you look at Jahan going through. Car 19 on the podium yesterday. He's just ahead of the young Turk. Bokolbashi 10, Daruvala 9, Patrick Pasma just ahead. Here's Isaac Hadjar as they race down into turn 1. Tries to get the slipstream well over 250 k's an hour. Iwasa right behind the Italian. Alessio Deleda in car 10 for Pinnacle Motorsport. But we look at the timing screen, 1:35.7. 0.3 of a second faster than any other driver on the circuit for the race leader, Guan Yu Zhou, who's pulling away.
Yeah, Guan Yu Zhou is definitely trying to pull away, trying to build as much of a gap as he can right now. But the safety car restart has played into the hands of Ayumu Iwasa, who's right behind Alessio Deleda right now. He's definitely going to try. Oh, there's Roy Nissani trying to make a move on Patrick Pasnama. Did they make contact there? Was that Nissani? Was that...
Bokolbashi, I believe it was, who had to give racing room. There's Daruvala going through. Just ahead, Patrick Pasma. In position 8, just ahead of the Indian driver. There's Jahan inside the top 10 on the podium yesterday. Ayumi Iwasa goes through in the Red Bull entry. And we go back to Roy Nissani from Israel for Team High Tech. Daruvala closing in on the back of Patrick, just behind Bokolbashi, Reis Ushijima, just outside the top 10. Here's the American-born Japanese driver. There's the race leader. There's Isaac in position 3. Still sits in behind Dino Beganovic.
Jehan's really reeled Patrick Pasma in. He's definitely going to try and make a move as soon as he can. But we were just looking at Reis Ushijima earlier, trying to make a move on Chem Bokolbashi, but he wasn't able to do it. Chem did run a little wide, but Reis wasn't able to stick his car down the inside there, but it was a good attempt. Jehan here trying to make a move on Patrick Pasma. Can he make it stick? Oh, no. Patrick Pasma just about shut the door, just enough to keep Jehan behind.
Fabulous racing between Jehan and Patrick. He dove down the inside. Patrick covered him off. holds the position from the Indian driver, does the Finn, who was telling us in his hometown of Oulu in Finland, the temperature was minus 30 degrees. It is 50 plus warmer than that for the Finn, who runs inside the top 10 at the moment. From Shanghai in China, it is Guan Yu Zhou looking good to go 2 from 2, but Pierre-Louis Chauvet, position 4 for PLC, has just set the fastest first sector of the entire race. Bogdanovic going through. There's Isaac Hadjar on the podium on debut in Formula 3 at the moment. Pierre-Louis Chauvet, Alessio Deleda, Ayumu Iwasa. What a performance for the Honda-backed Red Bull Junior. In position 6, made that start before the safety car, made that move, I should say, before the safety car came out, going by Roy Nissany, who was on the podium yesterday. He's back in 7th, ahead of that battle we were just watching between Patrick Pasma and Jahan Daruvala. Hadjar closes in on the back of Dino, onto the straight, will try and get the toe. 5th gear, 6th gear, right as they go underneath the bridge. Here in Dubai, Guan Yu Zhou goes by, and the gap, 1.3 seconds. The rest of the field stream down the straight here in the United Arab Emirates. You're watching the Formula 3 Asian Championship, Race 2, Round 1, here for 2021. 1:35.405 last time round for Guan Yu Zhou, the fastest driver on the circuit, the most experienced driver in the field. Aditya, it looks as though, yes, these cars are very difficult to pass.
It does seem like it's very difficult to pass because the straight that the cars are on right now is really long leading into turn 5, and turn 5 is a sharp hairpin which on new tires is in first gear, but they're still not able to make a pass. You can see Reese Ushijima trying there again,
on
but just not able to make it stick. He tried before, just wasn't able to make it stick. So it is really difficult to pass on this circuit. It's going to be different in Abu Dhabi. We know how tight those corners are. We know we have a few corners there that have long straights leading up to them with first gear, hard braking, trajectories. It's going to be interesting to watch there compared to here. I was walking around the circuit the other day. It looks like a great circuit to drive on here in Dubai, but it just seems like you can't make any overtaking moves. Drivers enjoyed practice because it's so flowing, but it's just so hard to overtake.
Dino Bogdanovic, who had a great run yesterday from 7th up into 5th place, caught up to the leaders, had the 3rd quickest lap time, but told us last night that it is just almost impossible to get close enough because you lose so much aerodynamic downforce. No problem for Guan Yu Zhou out front, who extends his lead now by another 1/10 of a second. Back to Dino, his teammate Isaac, still in position 3. You watch Guan Yu go through. Fastest first sector now for Guan Yu Zhou. Bogdanovic in 2nd place. Let's remind you, he was a professional kart racer in WSK International Kart Racing not 6 months ago. He's got the Alpine Formula 1 test driver just ahead of him. Isaac Hadjar also just out of Formula 4. Pierre-Louis Chauvet, race winner in the Formula Regional European Championship in 2020. Alessio Deleda, P5, who will also race for HWA in the 2021 FIA Formula 2 Championship. 5th place at the moment for the Italian for Pinnacle Motorsport. Isaac going through in 3rd place, still trying to get by Dino Bogdanovic, but that is easier said than done.
These two youngsters, Isaac and Dino, their combined ages of all of 32. They're probably younger, the two of them put together, younger than Lewis Hamilton and maybe even Daniel Ricciardo. It's so impressive to see what they can do here because the cars aren't that easy to drive. Yes, we may say they are underpowered, but 270 bhp, ladies and gentlemen, 650 kilos, the car. You can imagine a 16-year-old behind the wheel of one of these cars. It's not going to be easy, and they're giving it to the likes of Guan Yu Zhou.
Very physical, these cars. There's no power-assisted steering. The cars are very heavy to steer, and the steering wheel is a long way back, very close to the driver, almost NASCAR style. So it really does work the shoulders and the upper body. Fitness absolutely paramount, particularly for drivers who did miss much of the 2020 series. Dino Bogdanovic told us that he was still in the lockdown last year, still testing international karting, and that's what kept him fit. He said that was probably on a par to this, but in terms of driving F4 and other F3 cars, this is a lot harder.
This is indeed a lot harder.
Physically, that is.
Physically, this is physically a lot harder. But yes, the pure talent of these young drivers showing in this series, it's great to watch. And once again, all they need is a small little DRS button and they'd be quite happy. But back to the racing, we're seeing Isaac Hadja still trying his best to reel in Dino, but it's just not enough. Dino is so consistent. He made a few mistakes early on, but he's stopped making those mistakes now and is just keeping Isaac Hadja at bay. It's so hard when you're a driver behind a car and you see the car in front being so consistent, not making any mistakes. It demotivates you a little bit because Isaac early on was trying to show his face in the mirror, but Dino may have got phased once, but not twice, not thrice. He's a smart young driver.
He's in second place. Isaac in third. Pierre-Louis Chauvet is catching them. He will start from pole position for race 3 later this afternoon. There is Iwasa coming through in the background, so he has got by the Italian. Isaac Hadja dives down the inside. He's too far back. Just wants to make car 6 for the Evans Grand Prix team as big as possible and rattle young Dino, who also runs almost off the circuit, just turns in and keeps it on the rubber line. The gap 1.6 seconds from Guan Yu Zhou back to Dino Beganovic. Isaac Hadja third, and the second Frenchman inside the top 4, that is Pierre-Louis Chauvet in position 4 and catching his countryman. He is catching up to the back of Hadja. The gap just 0.4 of a second between Isaac and Pierre-Louis, not to be confused with Pierre-Louis Loubet, the Hyundai factory driver in the World Rally Championship. This is Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who will also race for the Jensen Motorsport team in the FIA Formula 3 Championship for 2021. Race winner in the Formula Regional Championship 2020 with Van Amersfoort Racing. And he's one step off the podium at the moment. Evans Grand Prix in third with their young French talent, Isaac Hadja. Guan Yu Zhou, the gap, 1.7 seconds. It looks as though it will be 2 from 2 at the moment as we move into the final stages of the race. And Dino Beganovic has just been given his second warning for track limits. That will put psychological pressure as well on the young Swede.
Yeah, with just a couple of laps to go, Dino having his eyes in the mirror, but also having to worry about track limits. It's not easy, but he does have the pace. He just needs to have that little faith in himself to keep the car on the track and make sure he gets past these 2 laps without exceeding track limits anymore, because track limits can invite a penalty. At this stage of the race, it's probably too late for a drive-through penalty, but if he does do it one more time or maybe a couple of more times, they may give him a post-race penalty. So he does need to keep an eye on what he's doing on the track. But looking down the order, Patrick Pasma seems to have lost a couple of places. Chehan Daruvala and Chem Bolokbasi seem to have gone past him somewhere. We seem to have missed that.
Jahan now up into 8th place. Chem Bolokbasi in tonight. Patrick back to 10th. Head of Reese Ushijima and Roman Stanek, the 2 high-tech team drivers. Head of Nicola Marinangeli and Roberto Faria. Incidentally, Pierre-Louis Chauvet also given a second warning for track limits as well. And this is the last lap of this time-shortened race. Guan Yu Zhou looking good to take the victory here this morning. He has led from the start. Safety car intervention, he has controlled the pace. The gap is 1.7 seconds. Guan Yu Zhou will go 2 from 2 here in Dubai. There's Pierre-Louis Chauvet back in 4th place. Isaac Hadja looking good for the podium. Or do we have one more lap? We are getting confusing messages. Apologies from race control.
Yeah, it looks like we do have one more lap here. The leader now is on the last lap. We do have a message from race control on the previous lap that said the last lap. Anyhow, this means...
Just to clarify, sorry Aditya, we missed the checkered flag by 12 seconds. That's why the confusion. The checkered flag was ready and then it was withdrawn. They crossed the line at 26 minutes and 48 seconds. So this is now the last lap of the race.
Indeed, and we're seeing a few drivers get warnings for track limits. As long as they keep themselves within the white lines on this lap, they should be fine. But track limits has been something that a lot of drivers, even in Formula One, have been struggling with in the recent past, and that's probably due to the nature of the circuits. We're looking at Jahan Daruvala trying to dive down the inside of Roy Nissany, and he's made it stick.
What a move by Jahan!
Oh, this is going to be close. Nissany's on the inside, Jahan's on the outside.
Jahan holds him off. Jahan Daruvala, Roy Nissany, they were both on the podium yesterday. Jahan just sent it. There's Alessio Deleta going through. He will steer clear and take the place. They are still side by side. Nissany runs off the circuit. Daruvala takes the place. Guan Yu Zhou is on his final lap. He rounds the final corner. Jahan has taken the place for 7th, but Guan Yu Zhou out front is about to go 2 from 2. He takes the checkered flag, the superstar from Shanghai, now comfortably leads the Formula 3 Asian Championship. Dynamite Dino home in 2nd place, and Isaac Hadja beats home his countryman Pierre-Louis Chauvet for 3rd place. Hadja on the podium in position 3, Chauvet 4, Iwasa, the reigning French Formula 4 champion, 5. Then it was Deleta. Daruvala with that move on Nissany on the very last lap of the race takes position 7 from Roy, Tembok Bashi and Patrick Pasma in position 10. 2 from 2 for Guan Yu Zhou.
Absolutely. Guan Yu Zhou just showing what talent he's got. It's interesting. Yesterday he had 2 Formula 2 drivers behind him. Today he's got these 2 youngsters, Dino and Isaac, who really just weren't able to stay close enough to Zhou. But all that being said, it's still very impressive to see these youngsters perform the way they are. We are definitely going to see them make it a long, long way in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of them, if not both, in Formula 1 someday in the future. They're still so young, 16 and 17. They need to get those super license points. They need to drive up the ranks to FIA F3, FIA F2, and perform there before finding themselves possibly in a Formula 1 seat.
Dino Beganovic, the Ferrari junior driver, has finished in 2nd place. Great drive. Let's give credit to car 10 from Italy. Alessio Deleta comes home in 6th place. Ayumu Iwasa in position 5 from Osaka in Japan. Guan Yu Zhou has won the race. He's 2nd in just over 12 hours here in Dubai. And with that, takes the series lead into race 3 this afternoon. It is a 5-round championship, 3 races per event. We had race 1 yesterday, the winner, Guan Yu Zhou. Race 2 this morning, again, it is Guan Yu who takes the victory. Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who did finish in position 4, will start on pole position for race 3 later this afternoon. As the cars pull into pit lane, we'll try and catch a quick word with the 3 drivers who finished on the podium, Guan Yu, Dino and Isaac, from China, Sweden and France, respectively. There's Alessio Deleta coming in, car 10. Good drive from Alessio. Roy in position 8. He'll be disappointed with that. Lining up alongside Marcus Armstrong for the Dams Grand Prix team, as we mentioned, in the FIA Formula 2 Championship 2021 on the podium yesterday. And he finishes still inside the top 10 in 8th place. There is the race winner for the Prema Power team by Abu Dhabi Racing. There is Dino in 2nd place. His 2nd race in Formula 3. And he finishes on the podium. Isaac Hadja in position 3. The race winner, Guan Yu Zhou from China.
He's had 2 out of 2, but don't forget Guan Yu Zhou is going to be starting the next race in 4th position. So the next race is going to be interesting because it's mixed up. We've got Pierre-Louis Chauvet on pole, but great performance there by Guan Yu Zhou. There you see these young drivers being congratulated by their teams. The first of many to come for them.
Rene Rossin, team manager of the Prema Power team, who dominated everything. There is Rene. In 2020, of course, they took out the Formula 4 Italian Championship powered by Albath, presented by WSK Promotion. With Gabriele Mini, Il Siciliano, they won the Formula Regional European Championship with a boy from Brazil, Jean-Luca Petikov. They won the FIA F3 Series with awesome Oscar. And, of course, Junior Mick took out the FIA Formula 2 Championship, and they are now leading the Formula 3 Asian Championship. So the Prema Power team start 2021 as they finished 2020. Dino Beganovic, just to the left of your screen, that is, in the black shirt with his back to us, Rickard Rydell, his coach mentor, who, of course, you will remember, drove the Flying Brick, the Swedish taxi, to victory in the 1998 British Touring Car Championship. His mentoring young Dino has done for quite some time now. And his boy, Dino, from Linköping in Sverige, has finished on the podium in his second Formula 3 race, as has Isaac from Paris for Evans Grand Prix. Car 6 to the right of your screen, Guan Yu Zhou's car in the middle, and there's Dino's car 16. Finishes in P2. Fabulous performance. Pierre-Louis Chauvet just misses the podium. He'll be disappointed with that. But we'll start from pole position later this afternoon. Guan Yu Zhou with a comfortable lead now in the Formula 3 Asian Championship. Still just the second race of 15. But wow, Guan Yu Zhou looks to be in brilliant form in this early stage of the series. There is the race winner from Shanghai in the People's Republic of China. Guan Yu Zhou takes position 1 for the second time in 2 days here in Dubai.
Lights the flag all weekend. How much more difficult was the second race compared to the first one?
Yeah, obviously I think the second one is shorter, a lot more action in the race, and at the start I don't have the flyer, so I had to defend inside turn 1, but yeah, all the line was clean lap 1. I knew, I just have to put my head down and do my own race, and then I had a pretty nice gap, saving tires until the safety car came out, everything come back the group again. So only 7 more laps, so safety car race, that was the key, and I had a good getaway, and yeah, continuing the race, saving the tire, because we only have 2 set tires for the whole race proper weekend, so that's really important, especially for the last race when I'm starting P4.
I'm guessing in order to get the hat-trick in the third race, you're going to have to work even harder. From 4th on the grid, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, definitely. I think the start will be the main key, and hopefully no safety car, so we have a strong race pace. But in the other hand, a lot of people use this race to have an older set, so I used all my 2 good sets, so I have a quite old set for the last race. But yeah, let's see. I think we have the pace to stay with them on making some good moves.
Fantastic start to the season. Guan Yu Zhou, well done.
Thank you.
Two from 2 for Guan Yu. We'll try and catch a word with Dino in just a moment, and also Isaac, who finished on the podium just out of Formula 4 for both Beganovic and Hatcher. There's the Evans Grand Prix team celebrating with a podium here in the Asian Formula 3 Championship. Let's go down to Dino Beganovic with a podium in his second Formula 3 race ever.
Well, Dino, that was kind of showing off. It wasn't that long ago since we were talking in the FIA Karting World Championship, and here you are in your second Formula 3 race, and you come home second. How about that?
Feels really good. It's just about managing the gap, the tires, and just push when I had to. So, no, I mean, I'm really happy about this, and yeah, also for second race in Formula 3, it's amazing to already have a podium in second place in this Asian F3 Championship. So, no, I'm very happy about this.
Obviously, you've shown your credence in the first 2 races. The chances of winning the third are highly increased now. What do you think is going to be the key factor in the third race?
No, I mean, just have a decent start. Just keep with the first pack, and yeah, just focus forward, I think.
Congratulations on your first podium and on your second race. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Dynamite Dino takes P2. Fabulous start to the series for the young Swede. Just waiting one moment for Isaac to make his way up to the podium. Finishes in third place. The young Parisian driver for the Malaysian-based Australian team Evans Grand Prix. Isaac Hajar in position 3. Race 2 here this morning here in Dubai.
Here in Asian Formula 3, and in your second race, you come home on the podium as one of the youngest men in the field. You must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I'm super delighted because I had a very poor start like 2 days ago with mechanical failure every start of the session. And now I'm back on the podium on my second race. I did a very good start. I tried to put pressure on Dino, but he didn't do any mistakes. But I'm happy with that.
Is this a statement of intent for you now in 2021? Is this going to be the kind of race performance we're going to see from you all the way through the year?
I hope so. I will work for it, but I think like for my first weekend, I'm here on the podium. It can only be better for the future. So yeah.
Fantastic, formidable performance today. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Isaac Hajar takes position 3. Dino Viganovic in second place. And Guan Yu Zhou has taken victory in the second race of the first round of the Formula 3 Asian Championship. We will bring you the highlights of the race. We will endeavour to bring you the highlights of the race in just a moment. Of race 2. Don't forget race 3 to take place here just before 3:30 local time here in the United Arab Emirates. Aditya Guan Yu Zhou, the early stage of the series, and he's already won the opening 2 races. It is a long championship, 15 races, but 2 from 2. A perfect start for the driver from Shanghai in China.
He's been driving brilliantly, but you can't expect less from Guan Yu Zhou. Alpine Formula 1 driver, not with a full Formula 1 seat, but possibly in the future, and you can see exactly why. Guan Yu Zhou just stamping his authority on the field. Every driver up and down the field trying to catch him. It is a long championship. It's only been 2 races. They have another 13 to go, but it's back-to-back. It's going to be really hectic. Next weekend, we have 4 days of racing. It's 2 race weekends technically back-to-back. And it's not very often that drivers have to do that many races in 4 days. They have 6 races in 4 days, including qualifying, practice, and also a day of testing before the weekend starts. So next weekend is going to be long, but it's in Abu Dhabi. It's a different circuit. The cars could possibly give us some exciting racing because of the long straights and the tight corners. But coming back to Dubai, yeah, Guan Yu Zhou has just been unmatchable in practice, qualifying, and even the races so far. But all that being said, he is starting 4th in race 3. Pierre-Louis Chauvet on pole. Everybody's going to be running different tyre strategies. Unless the safety car comes out like it did in this race, it'll definitely mix things up towards the end. The safety car coming out in this race actually helped drivers bring their tyres back under control, bring the temperatures down, and help them closer to the end of the race.
Guan Yu Zhou goes 2 from 2, the first round of the Asian Formula 3 Championship. We have race 3 to come later this afternoon. On behalf of all the team here at the Dubai Autodrome, we trust you've enjoyed our coverage. We apologise for the delays at the start of the broadcast. We will be back at 2:30 local time for race 3, round 1, the Asian Formula 3 Championship, live from Dubai. We'll see you then.
Yes, it's me. And no, it's not cricket.